Call the meeting to order. If you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing. I'd like to call the public hearing to order at 7:04. Are there any residents for the that are here in support or opposition to the creation of a special assessment district for Creekside Village West? If you could go to the microphone and just give your name and address for the record and whether you're for it or against it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tamara Turkai. I am a resident and also a board member of the Creekside Village West Homeowners Association. I am strongly in support of this measure. I think it is a no-brainer. The amount of benefit for such a minimal amount of dollars is one that not only do I favor as a homeowner, but as a board member, and I have talked to many of my neighbors. I have invited more of them to come out in support of this. Again, I think this is a great deterrent to crime. I think it is a great measure for safety in the neighborhood, and we have had, in my opinion, way too many traffic accidents along the street as more and more residents have moved into the area and are not necessarily being as careful as they could be. And I see the light as being a great benefit to the whole neighborhood as a whole.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Any other public comments regarding this? Clerk Rowe?
I have one comment to read into the record, part of the public hearing, and it's from a Michael Browning. It says, I object to the proposal to install new streetlights in the Creekside West subdivision. There are currently lights at each location that was listed in the correspondence that was mailed out. As a resident of over 13 years, there hasn't been a need, and I don't see one now. The HOA needs to ensure that the lights that are currently installed stay operational.
All right.
That was the only comment.
I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:07. Clerk Rowe, the resolution.
I have a resolution 2018-15, the creation of a streetlight special assessment district number 211, Creekside West-2. Whereas on about January 19, 2018, the clerk received a request from Creekside West Homeowners Association asking the Township Board to add additional LED street lighting at the intersections of Tuttle Hill and Ringneck and Tuttle Hill and Indigo for the Creekside West subdivision that consists of 197 parcels in Ypsilanti Township, and for the creation of a special assessment district 211 for the purpose of defraying the said cost of the street lighting by special assessments against the property especially benefit. And whereas the Township Clerk requested Detroit Edison proposed plans describing the street lighting improvement and the location of said improvements and an estimate of said cost, and whereas on February 12th, Brandon Farron of Detroit Edison Community Lighting Group prepared and submitted the plans to install one street light at the intersection of Tuttle Hill and Ringneck and one street light at the intersection of Tuttle Hill and Indigo for the Creekside West subdivision in Ypsilanti Township, consisting of 197 parcels, which said plans include inter alia the installation of two 135-watt LED auto-band LED fixtures with gray housing mounted on a 17-foot by 6-inch steel support arm attached to one existing wood pole and one new pole, with the cost of the improvements being approximately $7,095.65 for the total construction cost. The lamp charge for 3 years is $1,001.10. When you subtract the $6,094.55 from which is the 3 years of revenue, it comes out to the annual lamp charges of $333.70. And whereas on April 6, 2018, the clerk received notification from the township assessor that the cost of providing the streetlights for Creekside West consisted of 197 parcels, which said plans include inter alia the installation of the two 135 LED auto band fixtures on the gray housing mounted on a steel pole and one on a new wooden pole will be $4.78 per parcel for 10 years, and thereafter it will be $1.69 per parcel for the street lighting based on the general benefit. And whereas Township Clerk has given notice to each record owner of party and interest in property to be assessed by first-class mail addressed to the record owner or party in interest at the address shown on the tax records at least 10 days before today's June 19, 2018 public hearing, setting forth the district effective in said request, the place and purpose of the said public hearing to allow any interested party or person an opportunity to voice any objection which may be offered against creating the district. And whereas the Township Clerk has also published in the newspaper of general circulation the time, place, and purpose of the said public hearing and the district affected thereto, and whereas on June 19, 2018, the Charter Township of Ypsilanti held the public hearing to hear any objections which may be offered against amending the special assessment district. Now therefore be it resolved, the Charter Township of Ypsilanti determines that the request filed by the Creekside West Homeowners Association of the Creekside West subdivision consisting of 197 parcels on or about January of 2018 is sufficient for purposes set forth pursuant to Act 188 of the Public Acts of 1954 as amended, and be it further resolved that a special assessment district 211 be created for the purpose of providing the two streetlights for Creekside West subdivision consisting of 197 parcels, and be it further resolved, the Township Board accepts the plans and estimate of costs as presented by Detroit Edison for the Creekside West subdivision of 197 parcels, which said plans include inter alia the installation of two 135-watt LED auto band LED fixtures with gray housing mounted on a 17-foot by 6-inch steel support arm attached to one existing wood pole and one new pole will be $4.78 per parcel for a 10-year period, and thereafter said cost shall be estimated $1.69 per parcel for the street lighting based on the general benefit. Be it further resolved, the Township Supervisor shall make a special assessment upon all the lands and premises contained herein to defray the expenses of lighting said streets. And be it further resolved, the Township Board shall herein annually determine on or before September 30th of each year the amount to be assessed in each district for lighting said streets, and shall direct the Township Assessor to levy such amounts. And be it further resolved that when the special assessment roll has been prepared and filed in the office of the Township Clerk before said assessment roll has been confirmed, the Township Board shall appoint a time and place when it will meet, review, and hear any objections to the assessment roll. And be that further resolved, the Township Board shall give notice of said hearing and filing of the assessment roll in the manner prescribed by statute. I would so move Resolution 2018-15, the creation of Special Streetlight Assessment District 211, Creekside West -2.
Support.
Motion by Rose, supported by Ross Williams. Any questions or comments on it? Hearing none, we have to do a roll call vote. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Doe?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is public comments. If people would give their name and address when speaking, and just remember that the person who types the minutes, they are not in the room, and then the limit is 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Joanne McCollum. I live at 1900 Tyler Road, and I like to talk about the Washtenaw County Office of the Sheriff, the Youth Initiative. I live in West Willow, and I read about the youth initiative, which looks really good, and I have to say that our crime rate is down. I mean, we still have a ways to go, but our crime rate has gone down, and I'm glad to see that the Washtenaw County Sheriff Office more of a presence in the neighborhood, and it's, you know, we don't have that many reports of break-ins or home invasions. We have some, you know, still some work with the youth, but it's much better. The perception of safety is higher. People feel safer there. They've been going to the parks, which I want to say something about the parks. We've been trying to get people out to the parks. Now they feel safe to go, the adults. And so usually it's adults with young children. And we had a bench made that we put out there, which they like, but their children don't like the PlayStation. So now I know that we're on rotation, and hopefully soon the PlayStation is safe. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't have that look that the kids like, so they don't stay there long. So anyway, keep working at that. And also, I want to say about the election officials increase. I am an election official. I'm a chairperson, and I work with some wonderful people. We work from 5:30 in the morning, at least I do, until 9 o'clock if you're lucky. It's a long day, and we have to always maintain a professionalism to voters because we want everyone to feel comfortable coming in to vote. And the people I work with, they do that. And it's hard work, and I think they do deserve a raise. I think that would help our long day. I think too, if there's a way we can do more marketing to let people know about doing the election official, like in the schools, in the high schools, they don't know about it. And if we had some, flyers or something to give to people, I think we can get more people involved in doing the election official. I don't know how many years I've been doing it, several years, nonstop, So it must be something good about it to be there from 5 in the morning to 10 at night. But I support this, the election official raise. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I live at 1421 Melvin Street. I'll make this real short. I am opposed to the snow removal ordinance totally. And for the residents, it puts a burden on the homeowners, plus the environmental concerns of all the salt and sand that's going to go into Ford Lake. Thank you.
Stephen Hudak, 553 Malbech. I know many of you are, or some are, to some degree, working on the Washtenaw Avenue and improvement and sidewalks especially. I just wanted to ask if you could just keep that up. I know it's always getting stuck at some point, but just keep at whoever has the ball at the moment, so we get some sidewalks repaired and sidewalks put in where there aren't any on Washtenaw Avenue. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll go to the consent agenda, which is the minutes of the May 15th work section and regular meeting, statements and checks for June 5th and June 19th, the Clarity Health deductible for May 2018, the Clarity Health administration fee for May of 2018, and the treasurer's report for May.
Move to approve. Support.
Motion Doe, support Wilson to approve the consent agenda. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. General legal update, Mr. Winters?
Madam Chair, I just want to mention two things, three things. One is that we did receive the check from ACM, which was a combined total of $173,131.
Yay.
As you may recall, there was some disagreement over the formula and how to calculate that pilot payment. Pilot payment stands for payment in lieu of taxes, and it's something the township is the only governmental body that receives this pilot in regards to the American Center for Mobility. That amount is going to increase so long as ACM continues to invest into the property, which they're doing. Just to give you an example, the year before the investment was made, ACM or the RAD paid just $18,000 to the township, and it's because nothing had actually been invested. So the 173 is obviously a great improvement, and we think it's going to continue to go north. We know there's existing capital improvements going on there that were carried over from last year. And Linda Goslin, Brian McCleary, Mike Radzik, all of us continue to track their investments so we can make sure that we're on target. This letter they signed also agrees that they will give us estimates every year as to what they expect in capital investment to be for the future year. And so we expect to receive their estimate by July the 6th, as well as a Excel spreadsheet as to the amount of improvements that were carried over from 2017. So I'm very optimistic that we will continue to go north of that number. The new base starting for next year will be at 119. So by saying new base, that's the minimum that they will be paying next year. But again, as we know, investment continues to be made. That's great. It's great for the township to be able to, for budgeting purposes, to know that you have X amount of dollars every year that you can budget. And these dollars are not appealable to a tax tribunal. So the 15-year Renaissance zone will continue until 2031, I believe. And so future boards will also be able to budget these dollars accordingly. At the same time, we also, I may mention that I may mention to Matt Parks during an earlier portion of a break that Nathan Vogt has in hand all of the easements that were prepared by myself, Matt Parks, Nathan Vogt. Also, Charlotte Wilson has jumped in with trying to get these easements executed. Her and Supervisor Stumbo have also reached out to property owners along that corridor as part of the reimagined Washtenaw. And we're trying to get those sidewalks installed for a number of reasons, primarily the pedestrian safety issues, as well as just the aesthetics of trying to have better improvement in regards to the corridor. And so if we do get those easements, the plan is to have the bid package by September and construction thereafter this year. And also just to mention, there are other agenda items on the board I'll comment on if needed. But also we did have a meeting with AFSCME, and I do believe that that meeting went very, very well. And there's nothing to report beyond the fact that we have a second meeting scheduled on June 28th, I believe. And just to let the board know that I think we are reaching a point where we have a good, just a very good collaborative spirit of working together. I think that there may have been some misconceptions about the negotiations this year, but they've gone very, very well. And I'm very pleased with how things went last meeting. So I'll keep the board apprised as to when we get to the point to bring something back to the board for consideration. But just to let you know that the extension has been signed by the union. At the same time, we're moving forward, and I think we've had a very, very positive negotiating session so far. So that's my report.
We also agreed to put on the agenda, correct, authorization?
Yes, we also, I asked the board for authorization to allow myself to continue with some negotiations for the remaining 6 lots in Liberty Square. This was 151 lots at one time, was part of the Liberty Square townhomes that was demolished by court order. The township has ownership of the 145 lots plus the park that was adjacent to this housing development at one time. And so we are going to try to make the offers to acquire those other properties as discussed in the work session.
So move.
Motion by Clerk Rowe, support by Trustee Eldridge to authorize legal counsel to negotiate purchase of the remaining 6 lots in Liberty Square, and that will be brought back to the board.
Yes.
Who supported it? I'm sorry.
Stan Eldridge.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under new business, budget amendment number 10, Clerk Rowe.
I have a motion to increase the general fund by $160,960 to $10,066,733 and approve the line item changes as outlined. To increase the fire fund by $45,227 to $5,629,094 and approve the line item changes as outlined. To increase the bike, sidewalk, rec, roads, general BSR 2 fund budget by $319,884 to $2,128,555 and approve the line item changes as outlined, and increase the 14B district court fund by $14,700 to $1,999,630 and approve the line item changes as outlined. I would so move that we approve the number 10 amendments to the 2018 budget. Sorry.
Motion, Rowe. Support, Doe, to approve the budget amendments. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2 is a request to approve the agreement with Carlisle Wortman Associates for the services to update the Township Master Plan and Zoning Ordinance rewrite for years 2018 through 2020 in the amount of $171,500, with $60,000 budgeted in line item 101-371-000-801-003, and the remaining to be budgeted in years 19 and 2020.
Move support.
Motion, Rowe, support, Doe, to approve the request for this to move forward. Is there questions or comments? Ben Carlisle's with us. We discussed it at length in the work session, and no new people since then. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is a request of Habitat for Humanity for funds for the renovation of 1571 Russell Boulevard, 1138 North Ford Boulevard in the amount of $60,000, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-969-010.
Move to approve. Support.
Motion, Rose, support, Wilson. Mr. Nestle?
Good evening, Rob Nistley from Habitat for Humanity. I just want to thank you for your continued support. We're nearing our fiscal year end here at the end of June. We still have 4 closings in the township remaining. One in Galt Village at 1215 Hull. That was a Fannie Mae property that we worked together to acquire. I think that'll be our 41st and perhaps last renovation in Galt Village. The prices have increased so much that it kind of need to move on to other places, so that's a great thing to happen to the community. Another house, 1343 Jeff, was a house that was in a fire and was completely destroyed, and that house will be sold next week as well. House at 1540 McCarthy in Sugarbrook. That house sat vacant for, I think, 4 or 5 years, and we'll have a very nice family moving in next week. And then lastly, 1367 Hunter, which is in the Holmes Road neighborhood. That was a tax foreclosure that you helped us acquire about 2 years ago.
Yay. All right. Any questions? Boardman?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
say Rob, just keep doing good work. We appreciate you and Habitat as a whole.
Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to another great year next year, looking to renovate and sell 19 to 20 homes and maybe another 100+ home improvement projects for families here in the township. This past year, we had an increased focus on roof replacements, weatherization, along with our furnace replacement program that we've had for quite a while. In addition, I think we're going to have a particular focus on veteran families in our community and to see how we can help those that have served us.
All right. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
The next item is request approval of the municipal agreement form for the Regional Waste Authority Formation Committee.
Move to approve.
Motion Wilson, support Ross Williams to approve the agreement to form the Regional Waste Authority Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is a request to appoint Supervisor Stumbo as delegate and Trustee Stan Eldridge as alternate to the Regional Waste Authority Formation Committee.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Wilson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6 is Resolution 2813, abandoned tax delinquent property. Clerk Rowe?
So moved.
Support?
There's a,
Okay, I know it's moved.
there was a motion to approve the resolution for abandoned tax delinquent property, and what this does is it increases the availability of the property to get it quicker when it's going to foreclosure. Any questions or comments on that? We have to do this every year, is that correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is a resolution 2018-14, which is the purchase tax foreclosed properties located at 835 LeMay, 792 Ford Boulevard, and 1601 Foley in the amount of $67,447, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-969-011, all from the 2018 Washtenaw County Treasurer List of tax foreclosed properties under the right of first refusal, and authorize that hand checks be made available and taken to the county before the July 1st deadline.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. Is there discussion? And these are homes that Habitat for Humanity are also interested in and will reimburse us for the cost. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is request of Brian McCleary, Assistant Assessor, to enter into negotiation. Oh, I'm sorry, Resolution 2018-16, which is a purchase of a commercial tax foreclosed property located at 2500 Lakeview Avenue in the amount of $3,848, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-969-011 from the 2018 Washtenaw County Treasurer List of tax foreclosed properties under the right of first refusal.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe.
Yes.
Support Wilson, and that it also includes a hand check to be delivered. You have to separate out commercial from residential, and in this particular lot, we own the lot right next to it, so it makes sense. Any questions or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is request of Brian McCleary, Assistant Assessor, to enter into negotiations to sell vacant township-owned property located at 1687 Emerson, parcel K11-14-482-002, and it will be brought back to the board.
So move to approve.
Motion Eldridge, support Doe, to approve the request. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 is a request to approve the scope of work and master agreement with Technical Environmental Services for contaminated soil remediation at the Civic Center parking lot in the amount not to exceed $12,000, which is budgeted, and approve Oscar Larson as a third-party transport and complete paperwork after the attorney has reviewed and approved.
Support, or approve, motion. So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Wilson. Did I say that appropriately, Ms.?
Yes.
Okay. And the amount is $12,000, and it is budgeted. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is request of Karen Wallen, the Human Resources, for approval to extend the ASME bargaining unit contract with the Township and 14B Court until August 31st, 2018, and for any future extensions, should they be needed.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is the request of Angela Burgess, Recreation Service Manager, for approval of a contract renewal with Washtenaw County Community College to utilize space at the community center for ESL and GED classes for the 2018-2019 school year.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion, Ross Williams, support Rowe to do. It is a slightly different contract than previous. It added another room to it, so it's not a renewal of the exact contract as the previous, but it's renting another room. So. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13 is request of Eric Copeland, Fire Chief, for approval of the revised automatic mutual aid agreement with the City of Ypsilanti and Superior Township. Motion
Move to
Doe.
approve. Support.
Support Eldridge. Is there discussion on this? The attorney has reviewed it.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 14 is request of Mike Radzik, OCS Director, for authorization to seek legal action if necessary to abate public nuisance for property located at 601 Dons Drive in the amount of $10,000, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-801-023.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge, support Doe. Questions or comment? I would like to say, I do think we need to continue doing these neighborhood stabilizations because every day something else is reported or we find something. We have 15,000 single-family homes, and it's just, I think it's been a very positive result for the neighborhood when we do these kind of actions. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 15 is request to approve agreement with the Washtenaw County Road Commission for the removal and installation of 4 speed humps on Parkwood in the amount of $23,130, which is budgeted in line item 101-446-000-818-022.
Move. Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Your discussion on this? We didn't get this at the work session. They put in speed humps, traffic calming devices on Parkwood, and they made them out of asphalt, and they immediately reduced and went down. So they have not been effective for quite some time. It's been an issue at the Neighborhood Watch meeting. They are going to make the new ones out of cement, concrete. Is there a difference between cement and concrete?
I think so.
Okay, I'm just wondering. Learn something new every day. I just want to make sure. Are there any questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a request to increase election workers' hourly rates to $13 per hour for inspectors, $14 per hour for co-chair, and $17 for chairpersons, beginning with the August 7th primary.
Move to approve.
Support.
The motion support to improve. I would like to discuss this more at length. I would have liked to discuss it at the work session, but we didn't get to it. So I'm concerned that, and I shared this with one of the chairpersons, I'm very concerned that just throwing money at something is not going to do it. I think what we need to do is exactly what you said, to see if we can get more people involved in doing it and performing the tasks. Maybe there should be an increase. I don't know what that increase should be. I'm not sure. I don't think this is like I don't want to say volunteer because you get paid, but it really is community service. When people do it, and the people who do it for as long as they've done it, a lot of people, it used to be anyways, and maybe people don't feel the same way, that they do it because they want to be involved in the community. It's not to, $17 an hour is a lot of money for a chairperson, and so that's a $4 increase, and I know we increased it before. At the last election we had in May, they were not busy. Like, people, but you have to do the same process, and I understand that, but I think also you could perhaps save dollars by not having so many people at a smaller election. These are just, I mean, I'm just round table, well, it's not a round table. I'm just talking since we didn't get to do it at the work session. So, yes, Trustee Eldred?
I was just, you were starting to hit on the topic I was going to mention. I'm not necessarily opposed. As I mentioned to the clerk earlier, the city I work in still pays more than what we're offering right now, or it's very similar. I was just going to say the day I went to vote in May, I was the only resident voting, but there were 6 workers. And so if we can just, and again, I would leave that to the experts who've done this job, but it seems like sometimes I go in and there's a lot of workers for very few voters, and they're not all necessarily doing something. The day I was there, only 4 of them were at stations. The other 2 were just sitting there as maybe, I don't know, backup or alternates, but if we could just figure out a way to be more efficient, maybe with fewer people, that might offset the difference. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean,
I know, and I put the maximum amount, like this election, that's like, when I put down increase to 2,560, that's based on having 7 people for the bigger elections. We actually have legally required, there's actually 1, 2, 3, there's actually 4 stations, plus the chairperson is 5, and I usually try to put a person in for a break, but I'm not going to, I don't even have 2 precincts that are going to have that number. So that's like, if I was able to fill them with the total amount for the bigger elections, which are normally in August and November of the even years, that would be what it is. But like I said, I think I only have 2 precincts right now, and I don't see that it's going to change a lot that actually have that number. And the 100 and the 1695 is for 6. And I try to do, normally do 6 even at the small, because you literally have 4 stations, and then there's a chairperson, and then to have a person who can actually fill in and give breaks. But in the small elections, I don't always, I probably had half of the stations manned with 6 people at the last one, and most of them have 5. And I also man them with that because you usually end up having, 2 to 4 that call in at the last minute or even that day. Sometimes I've literally had to move people from one precinct to another to cover it. So, you are required to have, I'm required to have 4 stations plus a chairperson. So I have to have 5, no matter whether there's 200 voters or whether there's, 2,000 voters. So, but I know those numbers, like I said, I did the maximum. I didn't want to undercut it. Like, if I was able to do everything that I normally try to do, those would be the numbers. But like I said, the chances, it's very slim. And I have recruited. I've got several. I've worked with principals, and then that didn't work. And I've worked with teachers at both Ypsi schools, Lincoln schools, and even through our prep. I even offered, talk to folks hit up organizations like the band, because I know they always have to say, hey, if you send your folks over here, I got to write them a check under the law, but there's nothing to say that if you're doing a trip and each kid's got to raise that. So I've reached out to bands at all 3 schools. I've reached out. The National Honor Society is where I have the most success. I actually recruited, I think I have 4 workers starting for the first time. And usually that works really well because then they'll stay for several years after that. So they've been the most successful. I've reached out to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, to different athletic, football teams, basketball, all the teams, thinking that would be a good place, because I know kids got to raise money, but it's just, it's like pulling teeth. I've also actually had one teacher through the robotics team at both at Lincoln and at Ypsi, because I know they have to raise money too, and got 0 response from that. But so far, like I said, the National Honor Society for several years has been my best place that I go. I'm always welcome to any ideas that folks have about, getting more workers. So,
Madam Chair?
yes.
In regard, I was just looking over the rates, and if I have it correct, right now, looking at this, I believe, let's see, you got Pittsfield where their chairperson is 17, and then basically thought I saw something from Manchester for 20. Yeah, I did. Manchester 20 for the chairperson. I guess there's election inspectors, there's 16. And Pittsfield is 14. And if I have it correct, was here as being proposed is 13 for inspectors and 14 for co-chairs, and then 17 for chairpersons. I do agree with looking at additional ways for marketing. One thing that I would like to just bring up as a discussion is that maybe this is this could be a article proposal to the concentrate on the ground individuals, where they can, maybe talk to some of the people who currently do these tasks and community service opportunities for Ypsilanti Township, and they can, describe what they do, and it could be a way to market and get more individuals. Second half of that is that I can see where, 17 may be a bit high, but then when I look at Pittsfield, I'm thinking in regards to size. Size of our township is 55, 56. Pittsfield, I think, is somewhere in between the areas of, well, are they larger than us?
No, they have less precincts.
Okay.
I don't know how many, but I know they're smaller.
Okay, and I know Manchester has to be smaller. So, yeah, I guess, looking at that, I can definitely understand a concern about 17. I can lean towards going with that if this is going to be, might as well say, a median. So in other words, basically, this will put us at that level for the next 3-4 years without, looking at additional increase.
The city of Ann Arbor is going to increase too, and she's going to go, she's having a really hard time. So if her council approves it, she's going to go to 17. That's why when I saw Pittsfield, and that's why I have about 3 or 4 people that play back and forth. So if I pay more, they come to me, and the other ones, they go to, to other places. I just, I think if I had to give a choice and not do it off, that's where the boards, I support. I think that we should, because we're being competitive with the other ones, but just to get $1 an hour more for the huge amount of responsibility that the chair people have, it's like, why would anyone agree to do that for $13 more or $14, $15 for the whole day? So if I had to give something up, I would give up the raise for the inspectors and the co-chairs and stay with the chair people. I have people that are, like, I had to beg a person that come back to work as chairperson who really was done as a chairperson and stuff. So that's where I lose people and where I really want, I think I have people who are qualified and that could do that with no problem, but to take on that extra headache and all, and they got to be the last one back here at night. They got to come back, and if anything goes wrong, they got to come, they got to come in or go to the audits, if we end up have a recount or something like that. I mean, they do get paid, but there's a lot more responsibility. And the equipment is totally different. It's really, really hard. Luckily, I have co-chairs. That's why I kind of want to give them all a raise. Luckily, I've got co-chairs who are younger and understand computers really well. And I have a lot of older chair people who know the system and know, like, the assignments, but really, technically, they really couldn't survive without the younger people who are paid a whole lot less, because everything's moved, it's all computer, everything's computerized now. So the equipment is much more technical since November than it used to be. I think once you get the swing, or if you're a person who has the computer savvy, it's a lot easier, but if you're not, and I'm at that, like, I've got about 4 chair people who keep telling me each time, because, there's, 70 and 75 years old, and there's like, this is going to be my last one. And I'd say, oh, no, you can't do that. But so I'm at that crossroads of, really trying to get folks who, to move on to that. So if I don't have full support from the board for all the raises, and I got to give something up, I would probably give up the inspector raise and hang on, hopefully, to the chair and the co-chairs, because those are the people taking on a lot more responsibility if people think it's too much. But my whole idea of doing it was to stay competitive because I'm in competition, usually with Superior, and they're going to raise two after, because everybody wanted to get the list, because when I asked the clerks for it, so I shared that with with everybody. They wanted to see what they were. And of course, you know what's happening in the labor market. We're paying more for our seasonals this year. It's just, the labor market is just really tight, and I know that, I think our seniors that have done it for years, I think they did see it more as a community thing. But the way I get the young people is I tell them how much money they can make in a day. I mean, seriously. And they'll say, what? Yeah, okay, I'll do that, or yeah, I'll come over to do that. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm not sure that you have that same patriotic. Maybe it'll get there, eventually, but I think it's not the same as, the people who are 70 years old and are of that generation.
What does the city of Ypsilanti pay? I don't see it. Am I missing it
Maybe
on
she
here?
never responded, yeah.
City of Ypsi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, she must have not, because
Okay.
I put them all on there. And
Now, and I do think the responsibility of a chair is great, because you're responsible for the election. You're the one that has to come in and answer the questions if you don't,
something goes wrong.
if something goes wrong. And then also you fill in for people too. If someone doesn't show up and you're short, you're the one that has to help. And I was just interested though, so what's the force legally required?
Station 1 is applications to vote.
Yeah,
Station 2 and 3 are the computers. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me get the ice on my mouth. 2 is the electronic poll book, and 3 is putting the ballots in the sleeves. And normally at both of those, I want to get high efficient computer people because they have to work, and then they can trade off and give each other breaks. So I have to have 2 computer people that are really savvy.
no, but you said that, you used the word legally required. I was just trying to figure out what that
1, 2,
meant.
and 3, and then 4 is ripping off the,
So you're required legally to have
5.
2 election poll book?
2, I have to have two people there. Yeah.
It's legally required. I didn't know that. I'm just
No,
learning.
I
I haven't done it in
that
years.
term might be wrong. That might be wrong, but you have
just
to have a
wondered.
person has to check the work of the other person on the application to vote. So the person who's writing down the ballot number, so I think that one is a legal one. They have to write down, the person at the poll book writes down the ballot and the voter number, and the other person has to check the work and sign. They have to sign off, the inspectors, that was the ballot number. So it's like a double check on, make sure the person's getting the right ballot number that's wrote down. And then the 4th station is taking off and again, checking that they got the right ballot number, because they're checking the application against the stub that they rip off. So those four
Right.
stations are there, yeah.
Okay,
And
sorry.
I'd really like, on this election, I wanted to have, the 6, because the ballot is totally different. We've never had a ballot like this before. They have complete columns for Republican, Democrat, and now the Libertarians on there, which we never had. And where the mistakes are made both by the voters and could be by the computer person is on the spoiled ballots. And they can't cross over. So I was trying to, I don't think I'm going to be able to, maybe at the 2 precincts that I have enough people, to have another station that would actually go through, here's your ballot, like with an actual copy of a sample ballot, and say, you got to stay in your lanes, because they're now in lanes. They didn't used to be that way. You got to vote all the way down the Republican, all the way down the Democrat, Libertarian, and then you got to do AATA. And then in 3 precincts, I have dual ballots. 13, 14, and 15 have both Ypsilanti and Lincoln, so that's even, more complicated for the computer person not to make a mistake. But they have to flip the ballot over and tell them to vote the Lincoln, don't forget to vote the Lincoln proposal. That's on the back of the ballot in those 3 precincts that have Lincoln voters, but they also have Ypsi Community Schools voters. So there'll be 2 ballots at 3 precincts that I have. So.
Trustee Ross Williams?
This is just an idea, maybe a proposal. Maybe, I know that Clerk Rowe has said that it's a possibility that she would accept, maybe leaving the rate the same for the inspectors. I wanted to also maybe put in, if we leave the rate for the inspectors at 12, the co-chairs look like they're going up $2 an hour, maybe put them at 13, and keep the chairpersons at 17. That saves 2. Because, again, with the proposed here, it would be basically moving the inspectors to 13, moving the co-chairs to 14. So in other words, leave the inspectors at 12, put the co-chairs from 12 to 13, and the chairpersons to 17. I just figured I would throw that out there as a discussion point.
I'm just trying to understand more of the process, and normally we would have discussed this at work session, we just didn't have time this time. I do understand the need for the chair. And Jimmy, you're a chair too, are you a chair?
I'm not a chair.
No, okay. Worker?
Not yet. Bad news is if I recruit him, then in his own elections, he can't work, so.
And then you also do you have extra training and stuff that you pay? And what do you pay that, or how does that work?
I pay whatever the rate is for the training. I do poll book training usually just for, like, this time I've got a lot of those young folks coming in, so I do the computer training for them. And then I do chairperson training since we've got the new equipment. I never did it before. Folks are still asking me, you're going to let me get my hands on it one more time? So, I don't think that that's going to be forever. And plus, we have the precinct delegate books, which are totally different this time. Like the way that the computers calculate, or the scanners calculate, is totally different. So we have to cover the precinct booklets with the new equipment, because the booklets are new and the way the tapes come off are new. So we'll be doing chair training probably about an hour and a half, I think, probably at the most. Mostly to cover the booklets and then the precinct delegate process, because the votes that are cast there, it's really important that they do that right, because you can't, if you make a mistake, the things can be changed at the county, but this one, the precinct chair people they call those elections, and so if they don't get that right, it can be, it's too bad if you made a mistake, you made a mistake, but we can't change those. And if you said you called the wrong winner, most of the time you don't have more, but once in a while you do have,
What do you mean you call the winner?
They actually declare the winners, the chair people declare the winners for the precinct delegates.
It comes out of the computer, right?
Well, there's all the write-ins that come out.
Right, like every other election, the write-ins, right?
But they have to fill those books out and make sure that they get all, their tallies are right and stuff for those. So if they just looked at a name and did it wrong, and they counted the one wrong, then they declare the wrong person the winner. So it's really, important. I don't think that we've had a big issue in Ypsilanti Township. I don't think we've ever done it. Now, there have been other communities in Washoe County that declared the wrong winners for the precinct delegates. Most of the time, we only have enough.
Has that changed then, or is this?
What's changed is the way that they're tabulated, because they come off the tabulator different, and with the AV count boards.
Okay.
So it is different. The booklets are different.
The booklets are different.
And the AV count, because the AV count board, they have to add those in and declare the winners before the end of the night. They can't do it. Like, if there's a mistake, they can't change it at the county. It's done here. So anyways, and that's probably going to, I figure at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depends on how much people want to get their hands on the equipment. Again, so we'll set up the equipment, let people run through that if they need to, and then go over the precinct delegate booklets.
And they use this equipment in May, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first. Yeah. So this is the second election, for the big election.
But it's really hard, especially coming from working so long. Like, I think that all of us, even, Angie, I, and Lisa, who had worked, and especially even, Angie and I, who'd even worked longer, it was almost like you knew that equipment inside and out. You didn't really even need to look at a booklet or nothing. It was like breathing. And even though we had an election in November, even me and my staff totally forgot, we had to get the book, we had to get everything back out and we had to go step by step because, and I feel the same way about we're probably going to do the same thing in May. Running the test decks really helps because that gets us back in the groove of it before we have to go do the training again. But, it's not second, it's not like, it's going to take a while for us to get to that point to where we're, a
Is
few
the
more
county
elections.
doing training as
The
well?
county does a training but they have masses in there, like,
Well, are they doing it again for this election?
no, only certificate for people who got to get certified. So, no, which well, not all, I don't know how many, I have some new people and they'll have to get certified, but even when they, like I did chair training last time, because even when they do it, they end up filling that LRC, that was a double-sized room, so what do they have, 60 or 100 people in there, and then they go through the equipment, but you really got to get your hands on the equipment, and like I literally have people break down the box, because now, I just have them do it just like we're doing on opening day, on election day, that we actually go through in a team. I usually have 3 or 4 people on each piece of equipment. I'll have 4 pieces of setups. Now I actually have them just like they would do that morning, and then we break it right back down, just like they got to do it, at nighttime too. So I think we spent, I know we didn't spend 2 hours. I think we did an hour and a half last time, so I'm guessing this one will be closer to an hour because the memory comes back and then people can move through it quicker, the chair training.
So if what I heard, Monica and you and people agree that the chairs need to go to 17?
Madam Chair, what I'm proposing, anyway.
Well, let me just clarify if I could, yeah. I heard what you said. All right, and so the chairs go to 17 and then the co-chairs go to 13. Right.
That is correct.
Okay.
I just want to make it clear, I want to give them all, but if I don't have the 4 votes, I'm willing to compromise on that. Because I do think that we're in a lot of competition, and it is from a lot of people about the rate. Like I get people.
Do we need a motion?
I get people to take off of work, because, they'll figure it out and they'll say, oh, okay, because the day is longer. I make $12 an hour or 13 somewhere, but because this is longer, I can get more. And so they'll get the day off of work because of that. I think we have a motion on the floor right now.
I know, but
Right.
it included that's what I was going to say, is that the previous motion included, so it needs to be amended?
Will it be?
Friendly amendment to what was discussed, 17 for chair and 13, you said, for co-chair.
Correct. I can make that friendly amendment I will put a friendly amendment to put basically for the inspectors. No change for the inspectors. Let me see, co-chairs will be 13 and chairpersons will be 17. That would be the friendly amendment.
We have a motion for a friendly amendment. Would that be accepted by the?
It's Jimmy made the motion, so.
Yes, I accept that amendment.
And the supporter?
That was Monica.
Support.
All right, so we have a motion support for 13 and 17. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 17 is a request of approval of non-disclosure agreement with DT Energy for the use of DTE poles.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. I'm not sure what this
What
is.
makes this is there's been a change. Mike Radzik is taking over Jeff's responsibility in terms of the cameras, and I always did the light side of it. And in order to get the cameras on DTE poles, they are requiring a user agreement, which we've not ever had before. Conti kind of handled that. And so before they will even talk to us about using their poles, which is actually our poles, most of them we pay for. But anyways, this is their process. So once we get this disclosure agreement approved, then we can have a meeting to talk about getting our cameras on those light poles and figuring out the cost of those. And our user agreement's going to come back to the board. Now, whether we do a flat, I don't know if we can just do one, because they won't even talk about it yet. one for the whole township, or each time we put a camera up, but this will start, we have to have this to start the conversation. They won't meet with us. I guess they're afraid, I don't know what their trade secrets are on using a pole, but anyways, I'll jump the hoops, whatever it takes, because we've got those 3 new lights. If you haven't been down Tuttle Hill, there's actually 4 new lights, 3 on Tuttle Hill and 1 on Lakeway for Manners and Creekside South that are waiting for their cameras and probably are going to get assessed for them, so we need to get them in there, so we need to get this sign.
Attorney Winters, have you reviewed this?
I reviewed it and I wrote a letter to the board on this, and it's still not really clear to me as to what actually they're trying to achieve. I say they, DTE, in having this non-disclosure agreement approved. I did point out in the letter that under the FOIA, the board does have a right to enter into these type of confidential agreements when one party is disclosing some kind of proprietary information. I didn't know exactly, looking over this right now, if this non-disclosure agreement requires the township, and maybe Mike would know, to disclose to DTE any of the information that would be captured on the security camera. I don't know exactly as to what it is that they're seeking here, because it seems to be at one time they have some, it's just not clear to me, Mike, as to what it is they're trying to achieve here. So it talks about that it means for purposes of this agreement, the term confidential shall mean any information, including not limited to trade secrets, et cetera, that's disclosed orally or in written form. I don't know how anything could be non-disclosure if it's actually communicated orally. So there's just, it seems to be over broad in regards to what they need to try and
Look at termination, at least we.
If it's tie-barred into using their poles for the security cameras, I don't know exactly, even if you could, terminate it, does that mean you would end up terminating the use of that pole for that camera? So is the user agreement going to define the particulars of what we're, okay, nobody, I know Karen said something about a user agreement coming back too, so.
No, we briefly saw it in the past, but then we decided that we were going to stay with Conti for all this, and they were handling all this, but then, we made it kind of a change in course here, and I remember the user agreement was like many, many, many pages on everybody's rights, like if the cameras get tore up, who's responsible, whether it's DT or us, and if the people putting up the cameras mess up their lines, who's responsible, and if DT has to go work on a line after we put our cameras up, lays out who, I just remember it was this huge, huge, huge document, which I didn't keep because, we weren't going that route, so.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to say is that in paragraphs 2 and 3, it talks about during the course of this discussions or even this agreement, the parties may disclose certain confidential information to each other, and there's a non-disclosure that each party agrees to receive all confidential information in confidence. I was just trying to figure out what information would we have that we would be sharing with them that would be confidential, except for information obtained from the security cameras. I don't understand what.
I was thinking that it was the cameras, like maybe there's proprietary something on the cameras that makes them work better than any other camera in the world, and maybe, I don't know, that's what because it's specifically, I know this user agreement, my understanding is mostly for the security cameras throughout the state, and who else knows where else. That's the only thing I was thinking, is that maybe who the camera company might not want their, but we don't know. We'll find out.
Madam Chair.
Perhaps we could table it?
Yeah, I would agree, and actually, I raised this concern.
Is there a time frame on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it means that people aren't getting their cameras, which they're, we'll have to change the whole because they're gonna be assessed. They may already be assessed for those. When did we pass those? It was last year, wasn't it? Was it last year? So they're getting assessed for cameras that they don't even have yet. So. because they would have gotten assessed in the fall, in the winter. So I would encourage us to move forward. I think just not approving it, we don't like the use agreement or something's wrong.
We don't know what we're approving.
You're approving
don't
not
know
to
why we're
share any
approving.
information.
I know, but there's no letter attached to, who asked for this non-disclosure agreement?
The person who's in charge of the joint user agreements that I was sent to by the DTE folks, Mr., I don't know. I
So
forgot his name.
DTE is,
Yes, DTE.
so I had a meeting with DTE, and we were talking about putting these boosters on the telephone pole because we have dropped areas, and there's companies that want to put boosters on there. And I said, those are our poles, but you're making money off putting it on our pole. So I hope this doesn't have anything to do with that.
No, this was
Is
way
that a
before,
meeting
this was way before that meeting.
Okay, good, because,
No.
all right.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's what but I don't understand, there's no context to this. That's what's hard, makes it hard to understand.
Right, and I didn't really have a letter or anything, but I had emails. I started the process with the same people that you met with, who told me they don't handle that. It's a whole nother department, which the security people, or the security camera people, and I got his name and emails, and he said, before we can talk, this is the first step of the process. And I'm trying
Madam
to
Chair,
find the
I'm
words.
sorry if it's,
I was just going to say, I understand the need if they're being assessed, but if the attorney's not comfortable, I clearly am not comfortable to put my name on a document
Did-
that there's uncertainty about.
He said he didn't know what it was for.
I was trying to put it into context. I'm not really sure, and it may very well be something that a meeting would clarify, and even a cover letter that would explain
Yes.
what it is that we are agreeing not to disclose. But I just can't really tell.
Well, you can terminate it at any time.
I know, but I don't think I want to terminate something that's going to cause another problem of an unintended consequence if it's somehow a prerequisite to having a security camera on a pole. I just don't think I don't understand what it is there.
I'm willing to come in for a special meeting if we have to on this one issue.
I just don't know what it is. Usually they're pretty straightforward as to what they want us to, they tell us what it is they're trying to achieve. I can't tell this one as to what it is.
Madam Chair, is there a motion on the floor?
Pardon me?
Is there a motion on the table? Motion on the floor? I don't know if, I didn't remember
Yes, I
hearing
think
a
there is a motion support. What are you asking?
I would move to table this agenda item.
Motion to table by Wilson,
Support.
support Eldridge.
can we have discussion?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not on, yeah. Eldridge,
Yes.
Ross Williams,
Yes.
Rowe.
No.
Stumbo votes yes. Doe,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
The next item is a request to approve the payment from DTE in the amount of $174,331.86 for an underpayment of electricity that was purchased from Ford Lake Dam for years 1993 through 2017 inclusive.
So moved on this one.
This
Take
one
your
is,
money. I'll take your money.
so we have a motion by Eldridge, support, Karen, did you say? Support by Rowe. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I know Doug spent a lot of time with DTE, but I'm still not sure of why we could never collect interest on this. This goes back 20-plus years, and I don't know what the first payment was, but this is accumulation of, 21 years, I guess, 22 years, whatever it is. I'm still interested in why we weren't entitled to interest over those years, but I know Doug spent a lot of time with them, but
Here's the backdrop of this whole situation. This started out probably over a year and a half ago with Giovanna and I having a discussion. The township has $800,000 in an escrow account. Nobody disputes all this money belongs to the township. Under the contract that was entered into back in 92, 93, the township will start receiving 10% of that amount in 2019, and we will continue to receive 10% for for a 10-year period until that account has been exhausted. The contract with DTE will be completed. During the discussions we were having with DTE, well, primarily at the time myself arguing with them, I had argued that there was no reason why they could not release the $800,000 because the township had always performed in accordance with the contract. In other words, the $800,000 was an insurance policy that they had in the event we never produced the electricity they had to buy from us to fulfill their contracts. They would have a source of revenue to be compensated by going out and having to buy that electricity on an open market. That never happened. It's never happened. And that's why we offered to give them a performance bond if they would release our $800,000 so we could do things, whether it's be roads, parks, other things that could be done and leverage those funds much more aggressively than having it paid out over 10 years. Because they really didn't believe us, I think, that we had performed the way that I had argued, they went back and drilled down on their numbers to see if what we were saying was true. Well, not only was it true, but then they came back and basically said, oh, by the way, our fault, we had underpaid you during those years. So not only did you perform like you said you did, we also discovered we had miscalculated that payment from the very beginning, and once it was miscalculated wrong the first year, it was miscalculated year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they came up with a number based upon each year. I sat down with Michael Saarinen, and he agrees, he understands how they miscalculated it. You know, no one would have ever discovered it, apparently, but for them looking back and discovering that they had underpaid us. Their position is that the statute of limitations has expired on those previous years, and therefore they would have a defense. I don't think the statute of limitations would have expired because of the fact that it was a mutual, there was no way, we didn't know about it, so how could we have, we didn't sit on our hands, we just didn't know about it. The reason why I'm recommending that you go forward with this for a couple reasons. To file a complaint on that issue of interest would require that a complaint be filed in the Public Service Commission. And that's going to go on and on and on for years. At the same time, Michael Saarinen has talked with some of the attorneys that do nothing but specialize in energy contracts. And just as we have become used to experiencing over the years, in my time here, this issue has never arisen before. And so nobody really knows for sure as to what would happen if it went before the PSC, beyond the fact that we would spend a lot of time hiring other people that might have more expertise, but at the end of the day, would it be worth the expense and the pain of, as opposed to just saying the 175, 174 is our dollars. They have corrected the methodology going forward, and in 2018, there should be an additional $40,000 coming into the hydro fund for this year, based upon this new methodology going forward. The 174, I'm not saying it's a windfall because it's money that should have been paid out in smaller increments over that period of years. But I think, again, the 174 in a lump sum is something the township could do a lot of good with. At the same time, I think that to go into the PSC commission, that I think is probably going to be, in my opinion, these are my words, stacked against the consumer, stacked against the township, and spend a lot of money doing that as opposed to accepting the 174. I wanted to bring it forward to the township because I think the township should, take a position. I mean, obviously, we can go through that PSC complaint, but I just think right now just having them acknowledge publicly that they owed us the 174 due to an underpayment, it's on the record, and it's something that are still in the township's best interest financially, I think, to pursue, as opposed to going into waters that are unknown in regards to what would happen 3 to 5 years down the road.
Okay. Okay. Did you get your answer, Mr. Doe?
Yes.
So we have a motion and support to accept the amount from DTE with no interest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Motion carries. The next item is Resolution 2018-17, wages for non-union and confidential employees, 3% increase.
Move to approve.
Motion Doe,
Support.
support Eldridge to approve for the non-union employees. We settled with Teamsters during negotiations with ASME for a 3% increase for non-union employees. Any questions or comments on that? I would like to, at some point, discuss the deputy clerk position attends all the night meetings and does all the elections and stuff, which sometimes is a lot more hours than the deputy supervisor and the treasurer. Not that their work isn't as important, but at some point, I'd like to look to see what other communities do.
I would support that.
Yeah, okay. But that's not on this resolution. This is 3%, which is the same as the ASME union received.
It's the Teamsters.
Or Teamsters, I'm sorry.
In the
And proposed to ASME,
yeah,
in negotiations with ASME.
we're not going into negotiations. That's
It's the Teamsters.
firefighters.
Teamsters, okay. Thank you for the clarification, Teamsters, I'm sorry. Are there any questions? We have a motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There was a question about the full-time officials as well. I did not do that, but I can bring that back as well, too. Number 20 is a request to appoint Treasurer Larry Doe and Trustee Stan Eldridge and Jimmy Wilson Jr. to the Liquor Committee with the term expiring November 20, 2020.
So moved.
Motion Rowe.
Support.
Support Wilson to make the appointment. We inadvertently had not reappointed the Liquor Committee since 2013, and we have requests now. So we have one.
Who
right?
supported?
Wilson.
Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We didn't get to discuss this in the work session, but a request to approve the contract with SME for water testing and report on the skylights at the Township Civic Center in the amount of $5,100, which is budgeted in line item 101-956-000-801-000.
So moved.
Motion Rowe, support Eldridge. The original contract didn't have a report to be generated, so this will actually have a report. The skylights they're original, aren't, I believe well, they haven't been replaced since we've been here, have they?
No, yeah,
Not at top, have they?
I think so. Like,
Well, they don't look
still,
like it.
Probably 20 years ago. I think they call it reglazing, the
Right.
places where they, yeah. So maybe not replace, maybe reglaze. I
Okay.
don't know.
All right, and this,
I know we did something.
so we have a motion support?
Point of clarification, was it 5,100 or 3,600?
It was, the 5,100 includes a report.
Okay, thank you.
A written report, yeah, and I do apologize, we didn't get to discuss that at the work session.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion
So you
support?
need a motion? There you go. I'd move to approve. Oh,
We need to vote on it.
We have a motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under authorization and bids, we have the request of Eric Copeland, the fire chief, to waive the financial policy and purchase a 2018 Ford Expedition KL SSV Max EL 4x4 with the Michigan Deal pricing contract in the amount of $41,754, which is budgeted in line item 206-970-000-979-000.
So moved.
support.
Motion Eldridge, support Doe. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is the request of Chief Copeland to waive the financial policy and accept the proposal from Image Trend for a cloud-based incident reporting software package, which is part of the regional partnership of 8 fire departments in the amount of $21,606.10, which is budgeted in line item 206-970-000-980-0001.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Doe. Are there questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is a request to award the low bid for play structure improvements at Ford Lake Park, North Bay Park, and Loon Feather Point Park to play environments in the amount of $294,883.26, with a contingency amount of $25,000 for a total amount of $319,883.26, which is budgeted in line item 212-970-000-975-795.
Move to approve.
I missed it. Who?
Joe said, and I'll support. We both said-
Motion Doe, support Rowe to approve the request. Are there any questions regarding it? All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting, motion is approved. A motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. I should have said that clerk, or trustee Heather Gerald called, and she had to work, so that's why she's not here this evening. I should have said that in the beginning.
Schedule screwed up. Oh.